Okay. Okay.
So Hugh, nice to see you, albeit down a Zoom. Let's start at the beginning. So where were you born? Do you have musical parents? What was your upbringing like?
Cool. Yeah, so I didn't really have any choice really, because my parents are both musicians, and I had a lovely time when I was little, because there was lots of music at home. That's a common story for singers, isn't it? Often. But my parents were not singers actually, but instrumentalists. My dad is a trumpet player, and my mum's a violinist. And we grew up. Our family is based in Oxfordshire, in sort of northwest Oxfordshire. And I have a brother who is in fact a singer. He's a bit older than me, who's a tenor. And yeah, we spent most of our we spent so much time singing as we were choristers in Oxford when we were little. Yes. In New College. Yes. And that was a wonderful, intense but wonderful time. And
was that with Edward Hickinbottom?
That was with the very same.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was a really, that sort of formed, so much of my whole life. Is probably the biggest influence on my life of anything, right, to be honest, because not just musically, but actually more to do with sort of ethic and work ethic, that is, and how to approach group things, and how to, and also idea of what kind of, I don't know, hard to explain what sort of beauty is. I don't think children often have the opportunity to have that in such a concentrated way as when you're a chorister. So that was brilliant. I loved it.
And actually, being a chorister is like, my son was a chorister at Canterbury, and they do become, or you became, little professionals at 9 in a way. It is extraordinary.
Yeah. It's definitely, it's quite precocious, I think, in a good way.
Yeah.
And I think it's it's not. I was going to say it's not normal, but obviously it is normal. But it's not.
No, it's not normal, really.
Yeah, it's quite a specific way of growing up in a way, because you have that sort of rigor that you're treated to, and I think it was a treat for me personally. It's not for everyone by any means, but if you're a child who really loves music, then it's a no better way to learn musical literacy, I think, probably, at least in terms of sight singing and stuff like that.
No, that's right. But anyway, when you left a new college, because quite a lot of choristers think, I've done that, I've done music now, I'm going to do something else. But of course, you had musical parents, so you could not escape it. But when did you, or had you already decided? When did you decide you wanted to make music a professional choice?
I think from the time I was a chorister, to be honest, onwards. I remember the one very particular concert when we were doing it was a Messiah, I think. Yeah. And Edward used to do these, Edward particularly of the other choirs in Oxford used to do lots of Messiah and tours of Messiah, and it was with James Gilchrist and Yeston Davis, and I can't remember who else, some brilliant soloists. And I just remember seeing them at the front of the stage and just thinking, and I do remember seeing Yeston actually. It was weird for a boy to latch onto a counter so much, but I'm just thinking it was just it's what I wanted to do. And I was really into drama when I was little as well, and
right.
It was actually, I think, probably once I left New College and went to secondary school, I had lots of really good drama influences, and it was a really great school for musical theatre particularly as well. So I did, weirdly enough, for those listening, whilst I'm singing countertenor, actually spent a lot of time when I was a teenager singing in my tenor or baritone, whatever voice it is. And I think that was actually really good, because it got me away from, not to bash it at all, but just the choir stalls. And everyone bangs on about that so much now. You need to get away from the choir stalls. But I think it's a bit unfair, actually, because it's such a good start that you can have. It's such a lucky start. But they're obviously right in terms of, getting onto stage and getting rid of that consort persona if you want to be a soloist singer. So actually, I'd say it was that was the next biggest kind of helping thing for me. I was very lucky to have lots of really good, both straight plays as well, and musical theatre, and get that immediacy of expression, hopefully.
Right. So
which
how
I
did
try
you
to bring to opera singing now and leader.
when did you decide, when did the countertenor thing spring into life? When did you think, oh, this is what I can do?
Yeah, sure. So I think that was actually, it was relatively early actually, because my brother had been a singer, is a singer now, and he's 6 years older than me, so it's a reasonable age gap.
Yeah.
And I think because he was sort of in the world of, I mean, initially choral singing and then solo singing.
Yeah.
I think it sort of I sort of knew roughly what he was doing and how I might, copy that in my own sort of way. But so I think, and my voice, for the countertenor thing specifically, my voice broke relatively early. And then I just carried on when I was still a treble, actually, and I carried on singing treble in my sort of weird ghost boy alto voice, and then that sort of carried on. And then actually, when I was about, I remember it was about when I was 15, and I just found it so much easier than my difficult teenage broken voice. And it was, I also felt that it was much more, because it was easier, maybe it was more individual as well to me, and it felt just way sort of like this was the thing I wanted to do. I mean, I think that's the similar story of lots of counselors. But it's funny because I also knew, I had this vague idea, I didn't really know anything about opera then, for example, but I knew in the back of my mind that there was this thing about, Handel operas and castrati and these great like heroes and lovers roles basically in Handel opera. And I thought, because I love drama so much and love being on stage, it was a really good marrying of my like the choral childhood that I had and the drama that I loved doing at school as well. So I think that was when I knew that it could be a nice thing to do and a different thing. Maybe I was also trying to be different.
So let's move on to training. You've did you spent some time, or you have spent some time at the Royal College? Is that right? Is that where you really got to grips with it?
Yeah, so I've done my master's at college, Royal College, for the last 2 years, and I graduated last summer. And I'm now doing the opera course there. Basically, I'm in my first of 2 years at the opera studio, and that's been the sort of main bulk of voice training, really. I mean, before that,
who is your teacher?
My teacher is Sally Burgess.
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
Yeah, she's great. Yeah, she was. I mean, she's a character. I hope she's watching now. But she's
you are a character, Sally. Yes.
yeah. He was like the Carmen back in the day in her time.
He was.
And, I think she was. I was in choirs before that at university, and which I again I loved, and I was very used to it from when I was little. But it's been really good to. I mean, she's a great mentor and a great person, really, actually, because she really sort of guides you out of your own insecurities, I think, into what she knows is within. That's a very broad statement, isn't it? But I think she's just a very good person for knowing what you specifically need, and rather than one of these teachers who just has a one-size-fits-all approach, which can be good as well, because you need to have the basic training. But I think she's a very good individual.
You've already done quite a lot of stuff out in the wide world, actually, Hugh, haven't you? Just judging by the list I've got here. And you've have you already done the Jardin des Voix Academy for Les Arts Florissants?
Yeah, so that's an ongoing thing, really. I mean, we did the academy back in August of this year, and then we learnt the piece Partenopé by Handel, and we've been touring it sort of since then, on and off, around. So I've been doing that sort of in conjunction with the college this year, and that's on. We're doing that until the summer next year. So we've got a bit of a break now until January, then we resume. But yeah, that's been a wonderful. I definitely recommend that to anyone who likes doing Baroque stuff.
Yeah. I mean, we've had somebody else saying exactly the same. Have you? Found,
I know who. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. Have you found that being a countertenor has you're relatively rare beasts? Have you found that looks as though it's led to quite a nice lot of work already while you're still training?
I guess. I mean, I think. Well, no, there's no doubt that's the case. Of course. I mean, I think that I've got a bit of a thing in my head actually about not wanting to sort of just ride that sort of novelty wave, because it is it's rare and it's easier to no doubt that it's easier to initially at least build a career, but then you have a big fall when you lose your voice later on. It's a very delicate operation as well. I mean, it's very frustrating at times, but like, I think, you know, my big career ambition really is to build a. It's great as a countertenor because you have the option of doing all this rep from, you know, Baroque opera, contemporary, and then Bach, and, you know, hopefully a bit of song. And actually, I want to be, you know, a person who does song convincingly, really, and particularly English stuff. I think it's quite difficult for a falsetto to sound kind of natural and not affected. So I think that is always, you know, I've always been drawn to that idea of doing song repertoire and being able to carry out convincingly and not be labelled as a kind of, oh, it's good for a countertenor, but actually for it to be good
yes,
for
good
a
singing.
singer.
Good singing, yes.
But it's you know, there's no doubt that it's obviously, you know, in its own ballpark some of the way, some of the time. But yes, it'd be nice to try and bridge that gap and not have any excuses in a way.
Well, you're going to be trying that next week by the looks of your repertoire.
Yeah, indeed.
It's great. Let's just quickly have a look at your semi-final repertoire. I mean, you're starting with Bach, which is perhaps not a surprise for a countertenor, I don't know, but anyway, from the Magnificat. And then you've got 3 Wolf songs. Tell us about these 3 Wolf songs.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, the idea here was to have sort of a little triptych of Wolf, sort of smaller songs, and the first 2 are very, you know, very intensely religious, and there's this dialogue basically between, in the first piece, Herr, was trägt ihr Boden hier, between the speaker and the Christ figure, right. And it's very, in the first song, it's a song basically about the kind of the gore of the thorns of the crucifixion and the flowers of our salvation, basically, and it's the dichotomy between the 2. So it's a very intense piece, and you'll hear it's very harmonically complex and fraught. And the second one, religious as well, but it's
on an old picture from
yes, exactly, from Mörike, and it's but a very different vibe, because it's about looking at this painting of the Christ child playing on his mother's knee, basically, and, you know, it playing in a garden somewhere, and there's this tree in the background, which is the tree that the cross is going to be built from. So it's kind of this quite a spooky twist at the end, and it's that sort of haunting, antiquated kind of organum texture in the piano at the start. It'll all kind of these block chords played together. Anyway, so we have those, and to finish, we have a bit of lighter subject matter from Die Musikkant, which is about this wandering minstrel and how he goes about living his life very carefree, loves to sing, you know, and he gets looks from various passers-by, and he's sort of not bothered by them really. He's most happy singing his songs. So that's sort of the 3 Wolf.
That's great, and
very quickly summed up.
It's lovely, and then you've got you come up reasonably up to date with a Nico Muhly number, Searching for Lambs.
Yeah, so I love Nico Muhly's stuff generally, and particularly his opera Mani. If people haven't seen that, they should have a look on the Met Online. It's a brilliant, I think it's a fantastic setting, there's a bit of a dialogue between the speaker and this maid who he sees one morning out in the countryside, and it's about, and I think the way I've imagined this folk song, essentially, it's a setting of folk song which has been done, and I'm sort of imagining it as these 2 people who are in a relationship and they've come across some difficulty, whatever it may be, but, you know, the speaker is, I'm trying to reassure this maid that, you know, we'll get through this, and we'll be married one day, and, you know, but it's the way he sets it is it's quite a haunting, not, you know, it's not a super positive setting of the text, because it's bum ba da ba da ba ya da dum ba da ba da, and it's a nice lilt to it, but actually you'll see how it's quite filmic. I think it's a bit of Hans Zimmer maybe, but he'll hate me for saying that probably. But it's I think it's a really beautiful, haunting text, and he set it like that.
So yes, I suppose yes. You're bookending your program with Bach and Handel, and the Handel is from Alessandro, not exactly well-known piece. So just talk us through this number, please.
Yes, yeah. I mean, it's an actually stonking aria. I absolutely love it. I'll probably go a bit wild and lose my head a bit with it, but that's probably good.
That's good.
So Alessandro the Great is the character, and he's this comes at the start of the opera when he's laying siege to this city, and he's in the recit beforehand. I'm saying, don't advise me to be cautious here. This is no time for advice. This is a time for action, and this is a time to to absolutely be the man, and as in be the person who takes action rather than waits, and and I think he's got this idea. Alexander the Great is always in history. They speak about him being thinking that he was the son of Zeus, basically, son of a god, and he's got this idea of through battle he becomes immortalized. And to be fair, he's sort of in his legacy has done that in history somehow in a slightly different way. But it's just an amazing. Fast piece. I love singing it. And
well, that sounds like that's a great finish. Obviously, you've got Bach, you've got Wolf, you've got Muli, and you've got Handel. That's your semi-final, and you begin your final with more Handel. Yeah,
well, I thought start where you left off, and this is a bit of a different vein. This is from Agrippina, which is recently done, in the Opera House and at the Met, and it's the character is Ottone, who's this general basically, and he's a guy who ends up saving the king's life, Claudius, the emperor, and as a reward for saving his life, Claudius offers him the throne, and this is, it's not known that either of them are alive at the start of the opera, basically, and Agrippina is wanting Nero, her son, to be. Sorry, it's a very typical, complicated Handel plot. Agrippina wants Nero to be emperor, but then Otto and Ottone and Claudius come back, and it looks like it's going to upset her plan, basically. But then he confides, Ottone confides in Agrippina, and says, it's lovely to have the throne, obviously, but actually what I really want is Poppaea. I really love her. That's the thing that I'm really after. And she says, oh, great, well, we'll sort that out, basically. But he's going to be duped later on. But in this aria, he's saying, in the recit and in the aria, he's saying, don't, things looking good for me now, basically. Fate is flattering me. And, don't change your face, don't change your appearance, because, things seem to be turning up roses for me. He thinks he's going to get Poppaea and the throne. But, later in the opera, it's revealed that he's been tricked, basically.
Right. Okay, lovely. So then we've got a little madrigal by Dandy. That's a surprise, perhaps. And then a couple of Dvorak biblical songs.
Yes.
Which are gorgeous. Yes.
Yeah. So the Dandy piece is a beautiful setting, I think, of it's kind of an antiquated. That's the wrong word. Kind of antique setting. Setting of a text of a love ode, basically. And it's part of this obsession in French music at the time of looking back to medieval sort of forms and music, and I guess you can hear the sort of you can hear this. It sounds like quite a basic harmonic footprint at the start, and it's a sort of theme and variation sort of form over across 3 verses, and the text is all about the speaker is just saying, there's nothing more beautiful than this person in front of me, than this woman with the sweet eyes, and goes into immense detail, very romantic, immense detail about her face and her features. And I think it's gorgeous, and it's very little known for some reason, but I just think it's a nice link. And also, I mean, the thing I've sort of in the final, I've gone for this. I mean, not really, but it's sort of been in the back of my mind, this idea of old and new. And because the countertenor voice is fundamentally a new voice that's only really existed since, for the last half a century properly, and a bit longer than that. And but we sing this ancient music, so there's an interesting sort of thing there.
Absolutely. So let's move on, Hugh, because time is
sorry.
on. So after the Dandy, you've got 2 Dvorak biblical songs, and then you come up to date a bit more with George Benjamin's a number from Written on Skin. Just give us a couple of lines on Written on This Says the Angel.
Yeah, This Is the Angel. So this is come from the final scene of the whole opera, and the thing that's just happened before is that Agnes has eaten the heart of me. So Agnes has eaten the heart of the boy that she's sort of fallen in love with and had. It's not really an affair, but they've been together. And the protector, her husband, who's this very jealous, dangerous man, has killed the boy and fed her his heart. So it's very intense. And in this scene, the boy is also the, Angel One, and Angel One sort of is an out of body sort of moment where I'm describing the scene in front of me of Agnes and the protector and how she ends up actually committing suicide in the end. But it's a very, very interesting piece of 2 levels, really. I'm out of the picture and describing what's in the illuminated manuscripts that I'm witnessing.
Lovely. And then just a little Thomas Campion, is it, to finish?
Oh yeah. So this is there's actually a setting of a Campion lute song by my good friend Piers Kennedy, who's a brilliant friend of mine and composer. And it's just a nice little ditty, really. Again, old ancient song, but a new setting of how to live with love and how to sort of pursue it and deal with it not going so well. And it's just a lovely upbeat, old new revamping, basically.
Well, we'll look forward very much to hearing all that next week, Hugh. Thank you very much.